you experience trouble, remember to get rooted. So when you're comfortable, open your eyes, and we will continue the service. And I think it's my turn. I'm really glad to be here with you again. Getting my notes in order here. Whoops. Most of you have heard me speak now a number of times, and I have a few recurring themes. I appreciate the chance to come here and reflect on them, get them in order to share with you, and then hear your response. And last time I spoke about enough, and our focus today is really a continuation or an extension of that, giving and receiving. I know y'all have a song about that. We just sung it. It's beautiful. Reciprocal relationships, giving and receiving, can be, should be, sweet and joy-filled. Unfortunately, our culture operates mostly on buying and selling, taking and extracting, rather than giving and receiving. So things are kind of out of balance. Some humans are exploited, and the non-human world is convulsing under human abuse. Climate and social fabrics are unraveling because of taking instead of giving and receiving. I look to traditional cultures for guidance on how to respect and care for the non-human world and each other. And I do this not because it's going to make everything better, but because learning from those who knew how to live in harmony with the earth seems to me the ethical thing to do. Honoring traditional wisdom, honoring care for the earth, is a small step toward righting the great wrongs that we in industrial consumer society have perpetrated on the earth. So cultures that have persisted for hundreds or thousands of years understood that everything is connected to everything else. Human, non-human, every rock and river, we're all intertwined. We're all kin. Reciprocal relations, giving and receiving, are essential to not just our spiritual, but our physical well-being. Scientists who are paying attention are discovering these reciprocal relations all through the non-human world. So is the mycelium new to you, or have you heard about it before? I don't see very many heads nodding that you've heard about it before. It's that underground fungal network in healthy soil that connects trees and plants with water and rocks, nutrients, and with each other. Trees do not stand alone. They have a mutual support network. Even the plant nurseries know that. They inoculate their little pots with spores so that the mycelium will start growing. Scientists are not sure who's calling the shots for this giving and receiving. Is it the plants or is it the fungus? They can't tell. And this is a lovely state of interconnection when you can't tell who's doing the giving and who's doing the receiving. It's just all working together in harmony. Giving and receiving among people tends to call forth generosity and gratitude. The Peruvian elders that I've spoke about before say it this way: the traditional teachings of generosity, of gratitude, and of living in balance that are being lost are very important for our children. It is necessary to recover them. Giving with an open heart is generosity. Receiving calls forth gratitude. These are life-giving spiritual practices as well as very practical advice for living. Because traditional people know that spiritual and practical are not two different things. They are interwoven. I wonder what you learned about giving and receiving when you were growing up? I remember one incident in middle school that stuck with me. A new friend had invited me to her house. Her parents were Hungarian immigrants, very Hungarian, very proud of it. Her mother had grown up in a rural village. Before the visit, my friend warned me, "We have lots of pretty china figurines and other pretty things in our house. Please don't say how much you like something or my mom will give it to you." I'm not sure whether that would have happened. I followed directions. But her mother had taught her that in that village culture, giving was more important than owning. Can you imagine such a thing? Hard to picture in our capitalist greed fest that we are a part of, but this is how many traditional cultures operate. If you don't need it and somebody else wants it, it's theirs. Also, I was told, don't turn down any food she gives you. You have to eat it. Now, this part of traditional cultures we may be more familiar with. A lot of our grandmas did that. And that was never a problem. She was a very good cook, my friend's mother. So I learned a little about giving and receiving in a culture more traditional than mine, and it made an impression. I've counseled people who were struggling to figure out, when is a gift truly a gift and when is it just an obligation? You know, like it's expected. Oh, brother. And I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but I know that obligations that don't feel like gifts can be heavy and bitter things, both for the giver and the receiver. And I know a way to turn an obligation into a gift. Marshall Rosenberg, the creator of nonviolent communication, used to say, "Never give me anything unless you can do it with the energy of a child feeding a hungry duck." Can you picture that? Like, that's what giving should be. It should delight the giver as well as the receiver. And Marshall meant that in two ways. If we're the receivers, we don't want to make demands on people that make them miserable, that foster drudgery or resentment. So as receivers, we can help that hungry duck energy. But also, if we feel obligated to give, and we ask ourselves, why do I feel obligated? What value of mine is met by giving? If we can't think of anything, we shouldn't give. We should say no. That's allowed. But if we get in touch with the value we meet by giving, and often it's to contribute, to be of service to another person or non-human, and if we get in touch with that value, all of a sudden the obligation is lightened and the gift can feel joyful because it is a joyful thing to contribute to someone else's well-being. Giving with generosity, receiving with gratitude, and then balancing the giving and the receiving. And this will be different for us when we, according to our ability, our age, our circumstances. And it can be hard to get the balance right. Have you ever gone out with friends and had a little disagreement over who should pay the bill? Yeah, who gets to give? What a wonderful problem to have, that you both want to be generous. And can you receive gracefully as well? That's part of it. If you can't receive gracefully, there's something going on there. And don't feel too proud about your ability to give, because we can only give because we have already received. Now, in capitalism, we think we earned it all, but actually we received able bodies or good jobs or accounts with interest or wherever we got our money from we received. We may have worked hard as well, but also we receive. Many people work hard and get nothing to show for it. So take a wider view. Step back into the arms of your mother, the earth, and realize everything we have is a gift from her. In the capitalist way of thinking, our money gives us value, and more is better, and the one with the most wins. We talked about that last time. But people in traditional cultures call that hoarding, and they heap shame on those who practice hoarding. Now, of course, with that mindset, you'll never get ahead, because you'll have to help your whole community get ahead with you. What a concept. In our culture, hoarding is not only legal, it's celebrated. Maybe we can begin to change our culture. Money has its uses, but money makes giving and receiving a business transaction instead of a reciprocal relationship. See, with a transaction, you can just agree on the price and you're done. It's easy if you have the money, and it's impossible if you don't. It's impersonal. Generosity doesn't figure into it. Gratitude, sure, why not? Who cares? When you're done, you walk away. Reciprocal relationships don't require money. They require time and energy and relationship. They have people attached instead of numbers. People you have to check in with and find out what works for them. So reciprocal relationships are actually a lot more work than money transactions. Generosity and gratitude are emotional labor. So let's build our heart muscles to do that kind of labor. That's good work to do, generosity and gratitude. But it's not free. It just doesn't cost money. When you do the work of generosity and gratitude, you have a relationship, a bond of trust, of mutual support. Now let's map all that onto our relationship with the non-human world. What relationship, says modernity? We have a hard enough time managing to have a few reciprocal relationships with people. How exhausting to include non-humans. Okay, I think we need to reframe that, right? How healing and empowering to have reciprocal relationships with the earth and the non-human entities that give us life. How healing and empowering. And yeah, it's work. So back to my friend's house, my friend's traditional mother. We in this industrial consumer society have been invited into the house of our mother, the earth. We live there, in fact. We forgot that we lived here, but we do. And we said, oh, I like that, and I like that, and I like that. And the machinery of global industry has stripped that house bare to please us, and for other reasons. And now they're starting to pry apart the walls of the house. But this is our house. It's the only house we have in to live. We need those walls. We have to stop mindless taking from the earth. And I think that laws are helpful, but I don't know that we will actually get what we need until we change hearts and minds. That is not easy work. But hey, this is what's required. Thinking differently, and it can happen. Traditional cultures live close to the earth, so they're good housekeepers. That's why I want to learn from them. Many so-called hunter-gatherers have actually been truly skilled at what we would call resource management. But it was actually intimate, reciprocal relationships with the non-humans among which they lived. They do their best to see that the non-humans, plants, animals, soil, water, that sustain human lives were themselves cared for, so that all, human and non-human, could thrive. These skills, that ethic, are what we must somehow restore if we're ever to heal this sick planet. In our own way, let's start practicing the honorable harvest. We will be frustrated. We don't know how. In this culture, we can't do it very well, but we can start and we can explain what we're doing and why. Take only what you need and leave some for others. Take only that which is given to you. That probably means that digging a mine thousands of feet into the earth and driving trucks many stories tall to get the minerals we need to continue our present way of life might not be freely given to us. Just a thought. And then share it as the earth has shared with you. That's a culture shift. Be grateful. Well, that's one we can start right now, every day. And reciprocate the gift. How can we honor the earth? We can't buy her something. She doesn't need a thing. We can love her and care for her in any old way we can figure out how. So imagine if this ethic of taking only what you need was actually practiced. How different would it have been at the grocery store at the beginning of COVID? A teacher I know is teaching the honorable harvest to her art students as a behavioral code for the classroom so that they will stop wasting and hoarding the art supplies that are gifted to that class. Here's more from Robin Wall Kimmerer. What if the honorable harvest were the law of the land, and not just the written law, but the ethics that everyone is expected to accomplish or be shamed? Say, I'm not big on shame, but there's a place for it. And humans, not just plants and animals, this is back to Kimmerer, fulfilled the purpose of supporting the lives of others. What would the world look like if a developer poised to convert a meadow to a shopping mall had first to ask permission of the meadowlarks and the goldenrod and abide by their answer? What if we filled our shopping baskets with only that which is needed and give something back in return? So, what would you like to give to the earth? What do you love to give? Earth doesn't want your money. She wants attention, creativity, love, gratitude, care, and protection. She's been loving and caring for you the whole time, feeding and clothing and housing you, bringing you air and water every day of your life. Here are some final words from Robin Wall Kimmerer inviting us to think about how we can give to the earth. In gratitude, in ceremony, through acts of practical reverence and land stewardship, in fierce defense of the places we love, in art, in science, in song, in gardens, in children, in ballots, in stories of renewal, in creative resistance, in how we spend our money and our precious lives by refusing to be complicit with the forces of ecological destruction. Whatever our gift, we are called to give it and dance for the renewal of the world. Giving and receiving is sacred and practical work. The earth needs our gifts. So be it.